Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. We have a lot of crypto news to talk about today and just a little bit of crypto whale alerts, but let's go ahead and get started. So up first, we have the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. This is currently sitting at 27. It's still in the fear territory, but we are getting closer and closer to inching our way out of that. So let's go ahead and move on to the next bit of news, which is coming from Crypto Rover. Huge Bitcoin whale buys. And yes, that is good news, but I have to be very straightforward with you guys. There's a lot of other things going on that are very concerning, but at least we are seeing more large Bitcoin whale buys. And up next, XRP ETFs saw $55.39 million in net inflows last week, strongest weekly performance of 2026. And from bar chart, stock market reaches most expensive valuation in history after the Warren Buffett indicator jumps to 227%, surpassing the dot-com bubble and the global financial crisis. Oof. And Seth points out, unbelievable, Bitcoin long liquidation cluster that they reported about on Friday is now getting liquidated. When Bitcoin touched 78,000 liquidating, $700 million in shorts. Now that Bitcoin is going for the 74 to 75,000 cluster, 193,527 traders were liquidated. The total liquidations comes in at $304.99 million. Like clockwork, the degens keep donating their salary to the rich, market makers, and centralized exchanges. Will this ever change? How low will Bitcoin go today? That is a great question. And from Xive Crypto, Japan is ditching SWIFT for XRP powered remittances. SBI Remit and Totori. We've got Totori Bank goes live April 20th. Most people missed why this is huge. Rising SWIFT costs and ISO 20022 pressure is forcing institutions to move fast. XRP is the infrastructure that they're moving to. And up next, Solana has two decent liquidity clusters right now. On the upside, there's one liquidity cluster above the $90 level. On the downside, there's a liquidity cluster below the $85 level. With the US-Iran situation intensifying again, Solana could sweep the downside liquidity first. And just in, $15 billion plus, over $15 billion lost to crypto exploits, while the XRP ledger stands with $0 in protocol level exploit losses. And Cointelegraph update, over $520 million in stablecoins left Ethereum in just 24 hours. Ouch. Looks like a lot of this went towards Tron, Solana, Plasma, BNB chain even getting some there. And Base and Hyper EVM also in the green. And look at that, even a little bit for Ripple. Max Crypto, insane. A whale has opened a $16,225,000 Ethereum long with 25 times leverage. If Ethereum was to drop just $20, they will get fully wiped out. I have a suspicion they're likely going to get wiped out. But let me know what you guys think. This is a couple hours ago. They might have already gotten wiped out. And update, Bitcoin is now 1.1% easier to mine. Russia's largest bank, Sberbank, prepares for crypto trading rollout. Everything gained on Friday was subsequently lost on Saturday. That's a bummer. South Africa moves to regulate crypto under capital flow rules and new draft framework with XRP included. And Bitcoin got rejected from its trendline resistance. New lows are coming. Got to keep an eye out for that. And up next, big Bitcoin longs outnumber shorts 3-2. And the Federal Reserve reported an operating loss of $18.7 billion in 2025, marking its third consecutive annual loss. This brings the total 3-year loss to $210.3 billion after the $77.6 billion recorded in 2024 and being down $114 billion in 2023. The losses are primarily driven by the Fed paying out more in interest to banks and money market funds than it earns from its bond and MBS holdings. Since the losses began in September 2022, the Fed has stopped remitting income to the Treasury Department, ending a streak that totaled over $1.36 trillion since 2008. However, the Fed cannot become insolvent because it quite literally creates its own money. Truly incredible. And from the Kobayashi letter, it's official. We're now witnessing the largest energy supply disruption in modern history. Since the start of the Iran war on February 28th, more than 500 million barrels of crude and condensate have been removed from the global market. In other words, global supply has now lost approximately $50 billion worth of crude oil production since the Iran war began nearly 50 days ago. This is the same amount of fuel it takes to run the world's international shipping industry for 4 months. The world has never seen anything like this before. And let's go ahead and go over the whale alerts. So I'm recording this video a bit earlier than I have been doing lately. So let's go ahead and cover these. We've got about 19 hours ago, $150 million worth of USDT that was transferred from Aave to an unknown wallet. $200 million worth of USDT from Aave to HTX. $285 million of USDT from Aave to Spark. That's very unusual. We don't ever really see that happening with these whale alerts, at least since I've been talking about this for, I would say, a few months now. I don't think I've seen Spark come up once. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't recognize that. $200 million in USDE? We've got USDE. I thought that was USDC. USDE that was transferred from an unknown wallet to unknown wallet. Look, there's another one here too. 50 million USDE from an unknown wallet to unknown wallet. We have $103 million in USDC transferred from Aave to Unknown Whale 1. Approximately the same amount from Unknown Whale 1 back to an unknown wallet. We have $116 million in USDC from an unknown wallet to Aave. $100 million in USDT from Tether Treasury to Kraken. $225.8 million in USDT from an unknown wallet to Spark. Again, mentioning Spark, I don't know what's going on there. It's a lot of money too. $495.1 million in USDT from an unknown wallet to unknown wallet. And then look, we're not seeing any other major whale alerts taking place for 14 hours, which is very, very bizarre. But then again, we are also in the weekend, so we'll keep an eye on that. And then up next, we have what's going on with the XRP price movement. It did close out in the red yesterday, as I mentioned. All those gains essentially just wiped out. Now, here's the thing. We saw a further decline on the day, going down to about $1.42, a little bit less than that. Since then, it's come back up. It's actually showing some signs of being green on the day, which is nice. The other thing that is nice is that we do officially have 3 days of candle closure above the psychological $1.40 level, also the Fibonacci retracement level. And so that suggests a strong trend, meaning that we have a higher likelihood of this having a further continuation up than going down. But remember, trends are not 100%. And a perfect example of that can be seen back here, where we had on February 13th, that was a Friday, 1, 2, 3 days candle closure. That third day, it did pop really hard. But then guess what? Shortly after that, progressively worked its way down. And then we saw also here on March 14th, there were 4 days of run up. That fourth day after hitting a high came down, ended up closing out in the red, progressively worked its way back down, tried to hang in there, and then dropped down below. So that's what I got for you guys in today's video. If you're new, don't forget to hit subscribe. And also, we're now at 57 followers over on Blue Sky. If you have not yet hit that follow button over there, we are trying to get to 100. So thank you to the new followers. I appreciate it, guys. And if you want to show any extra level of support, you can either become a YouTube member by clicking that information down below, or you can find me on Patreon. I'm Crypto Atlas over there. Thank you guys so much. Stay safe. God bless. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.